just outside of the White House in Washington, D.C., where Justin Trudeau just arrived for an 80-minute audience with Donald Trump. Now, the first 20 minutes that I've seen so far have been used up talking about Iran after Iran shot down an American drone in international waters. It's a little bit embarrassing that the Prime Minister of Canada only gets less than an hour-long audience with our greatest ally. It's a little bit disappointing. My main question here today is if Justin Trudeau will be lecturing the president on social issues after he lectured Vice President Mike Pence when he came to Canada. Here's my question to Trudeau. Prime Minister, will you be lecturing the president on social issues? No, I'm just laughing because as the Canadian media passed me, they were all taking pictures of me with my mic flash. It's absolutely hilarious that in order to cover my own Prime Minister, I have to go to a foreign country and get White House press creds to be able to get close to the Prime Minister because, of course, the Canadian Press Gallery determines who and who cannot get close to the Canadian Prime Minister, and they know that they're a dying breed and the legacy media is scared that the rebel is taking a chunk of their viewership. More interesting news today, the Prime Minister didn't come alone. He brought two of his ministers, Bill Morneau and Harjit Sajjan. It's yet to be disclosed if the President is seeking our Defense Minister's counsel on what to do with Iran. I have my doubts. I don't think so. And it's a little bit concerning that this meeting is only going to be lasting 30 minutes from what I see now. The president isn't spending much time on Trudeau. You'll note that he came to the United States here just yesterday, and the president, neither the vice president nor the president came to greet him, similar to what happened in his disgraceful trip in India when the Prime Minister of India just didn't bother to come to the tarmac to give him one of those quintessential bear hugs that he's very well known for. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has come under fire recently for comparing ICE detention centers to concentration camps. It demonstrates a weak understanding of what the Holocaust was at best, and at worst, it demonstrates the insidious anti-Semitism that has been creeping in to the Democratic Party over the last decade or so. The Holocaust Museum has called on her to tone it down. Americans everywhere have been calling on her to apologize. In fact, she's doubled down on her rhetoric today. I asked her friend and colleague, Ilhan Omar, what she thought about it while I was at Congress today. Here's what she said. Hi, could I get a moment of your time? Could you tell me, do you agree with AOC that ICE is running concentration camps on the border?
There are camps and people are being concentrated. This is very simple. I don't even know why this is a controversial thing for her to say. We have to really truthfully speak about what's taking place, and this is why it's really important for us to abolish ICE and make sure that we have an agency that is accountable to the people, that is dealing with the situation in a humane way. There's no way that we can allow for kids to be caged in this country and children to be separated from their families and people being terrorized in their communities.
Is it fair to...
We have to make sure that we are calling it out, and I am 100% with Alex.
The Democratic duo are displaying unparalleled levels of anti-Semitism. You know, my boss Ezra Levant was joking when he called it the media party, but in fact, it's true, and I just confirmed it on video. A Prime Minister's office staffer stopped me from going in those doors because I have this microphone, for no other reason than that. I came to the White House, I covered Donald Trump and Trudeau appearing with him for a very brief 80 minutes. Most of that was taken up with local reporters talking about Iran, so Justin Trudeau had a pathetic amount of time with the leader of the free world. So he comes here to speak with media in a controlled environment where the Canadian Press Gallery decides who can and who cannot go and speak to the Prime Minister. Now you're saying, oh, well, Keean, the Canadian Press Gallery is an independent third-party organization. Au contraire, it's not. Listen to what this PMO staffer had to say. Good, how are you?
You won't be able to come in to the event.
Why?
Just because your organization is associated with white nationalism and white supremacy, and those values and views are not welcome in this place.
So I'm allowed in the White House to cover a news event, and I'm not a white nationalist, I'm not a white supremacist, but you guys get to arbitrate.
Has been associated with that type of behavior and rhetoric, so the White House accreditation.
So the Prime Minister's office has made the unilateral decision to not let me in?
The Prime Minister's office has agreed with the Canadian Press Gallery that your organization's views are not welcome. So that's all I have. They'll get you to leave, but I just wanted to come
So
to
the
let
Prime
you know.
Minister's office determines who can and cannot cover Canadian politics in the United States.
It's a Canadian Embassy event, and you are also not an accredited journalist in the Canadian Press Gallery at a Canadian media event, and that's why. So
that's spectacularly disappointing.
So they will let
and pathetic.
They will escort you out. I don't appreciate that tone, as I'm being respectful with you. So
you're not being respectful. If you're being respectful, you'd let me cover my Prime Minister, as I flew to Washington to do.
There's a process for accreditation,
and I've tried to apply through the Canadian Press Gallery, and as I did with the White House, and they let me in quite smoothly. They were quite kind and respectful. But you guys are quite clearly partisan, and so is the Press Gallery. And it is pathetic and a disgrace. Did you catch what he said? The Prime Minister's office and the Canadian Press Gallery decided together. A Prime Minister deciding who can and cannot cover him? That sounds an awful lot like a dictatorship to me. There are tons of questions that Ilhan Omar needs to answer. She's avoiding the media. The mainstream media doesn't have the kahunas to actually ask her these questions. So I'm here in Washington, D.C. She has a press conference, and I'm going to ask her some questions. Let's see what she says. Ilhan, if I could get a moment of your time, could you tell me why you filed illegal tax returns in 2014 and 2015?
And it's which committee?
Can you tell me definitively or not, is Ahmad Elsi your brother?
For the markup?
Yeah. Is he your
We're
brother?
in the middle of the legislative briefing.
Is he your brother?
We're going to which one?
It's Foreign Affairs. I'll go with you. Can you tell me definitively, yes or no, is he your brother? And why can't you answer that question?
The remarks you gave me earlier.
Why did you refer to him as your child's uncle on Instagram? And why did you lie on court documents saying that you hadn't seen him since 2011, when in fact you'd been talking to him all the time on Instagram?
Sir, we're not doing ambush interviews.
This isn't an ambush.
You can send me an email.
Why are you so afraid to answer these questions?
Thank you. So we have budget and HVAC.
How can anyone take you credibly on the student loan tax file when you were cheating on your taxes in 2014? And how can you call for Donald Trump's tax filings when nobody can trust you on the file at all? And why are you scared to answer the questions?
Excuse me.
What are you hiding?
Trying to find my phone at the moment.
So that you can go on Instagram and talk to your brother? Now, I don't know why Ilhan Omar is so afraid to answer very simple questions. If I asked you, did you marry your sibling? You know what the answer to that is? No, at least it should be. I don't know why she's not answering these questions. I don't know why she's so scared. It certainly makes her look guilty on a bunch of different counts. A radical leftist and an avowed Antifa member, someone who's been photographed many times in Antifa rallies, has been shot and killed after attempting to firebomb an ICE center. Now, I'm going to ask a very simple question of any congressperson that I can find. Will they condemn Antifa and the terrorist act that we saw over the weekend? Let's see what we can get. Will you condemn the Antifa attack in Washington over the weekend? It's easy to condemn terrorism. Will you condemn it?
Is it clear?
Antifa firebombed a facility in Tacoma over the weekend. It's an ICE facility. Will you condemn them for that? Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington?
We'll be making statements.
It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack. We're wondering if you'll condemn the ICE attack again, the Antifa attack against an ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington over the weekend. No? Do you condemn Antifa for their violent actions against American law enforcement?
Okay, so now you're getting in the way of me walking, so I'm asking you to please back up. Sir?
Do you condemn Antifa?
What I'm condemning is a lack of journalistic integrity, and you're not respecting my physical space right now. And I'm going to ask you to step away.
And Antifa didn't respect the integrity of that building.
You can give me a card and we can respond.
So you're not going to condemn them? This isn't a journalistic ethics thing. I'm asking questions that CNN won't. Will you condemn Antifa?
Sir, asking one more time to please scoot over.
Now, these questions that I asked them were very simple, and of course they didn't really have much of an answer. Now, I waited as the committee meeting where they were going to grill Kellyanne Conway, I waited for it to conclude, and as I did, members of the media who were typically waiting outside of the doors where staff and members walk in, I saw a few heads poking out into the hallway, and after I sort of stepped into the shadows, they all sort of fled out, and I was able to ask them all the same question and kind of got the same results, but I did get an answer from one of them. Would you like to condemn Antifa for their attack on an ICE facility?
Well, obviously, any attack on any facility is something that we shouldn't condone as the United States government.
Thank you. Why is it so hard to condemn terrorism? Well, it's hard for the Democrats, I think, because a large part of their grassroots support, their activist support, would be alienated if they did condemn Antifa as a whole. I think that's a serious problem in American politics, and particularly in the Democratic Party. What a day here in Washington, D.C. I have fun with these trucks every single time. It's always a blast. We were at the Washington Monument, we were at Congress, we were at the White House, we were at the Trump International Hotel, and then we went to DNC HQ over the lunch hour to show them the billboard truck, to remind them exactly who they have in their caucus. They weren't very happy. They sent a security guard out to kind of threaten me. Take a look at this. We're not trying to harass anyone. We're just, exercising our First Amendment rights, and we want to know if the DNC will condemn terrorism.
So where exactly are you talking at?
No, I'm the reporter here. I'm asking questions, and I just want to know if the DNC will condemn terrorism. Do you work for the DNC or you law enforcement?
No. So you're going to continue just to...
Probably.
Okay, we'll call you.
Sorry?
Okay.
You'll
so
call what?
Stay here?
Am I allowed to be on a public sidewalk?
We're going to find out. We're going to find out.
We're going to find out if I'm allowed to be on a public sidewalk. You say that as you have a firearm on your hip. Is this America, or am I allowed to be on a sidewalk?
You can answer that.
I'm allowed to be here, I take it.
Whatever you say.
That's an excerpt from the Ezra Levant Show, which is a show I do every day. I do a monologue, interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. But you've got to subscribe to it, which you can do at premium.rebelnews.com.